So welcome back. We're going into cosmic cycles here, and this is my 5th segment. And I encourage people who haven't watched the previous ones to get some of the preface here because it's kind of a big subject. Now, we're talking about how the galaxies and atoms, solar systems are in effect really a field. Maybe not a very complete field because maybe the way distribution pattern of the circulation of the different materials, like in our solar system, we have just so many planets and so much material and the way it circulates in particular. You have the asteroid belt. But around that, the planets or the spin, just like in an atom, we have the spin, the waves go up and down, in a pattern above and below the ecliptic. Now, if you can harmonize these, if they spin fast enough, you'll get both of these materials, all material in it, could gravitate to a superior and a perfect ecliptic, like a buzzsaw, you might say, like the rings of Saturn in a sense. But that material would be incredibly fine, super fine, maybe condensed light, just carrying all kinds of information, just a real incredible substance or light energy. Now, there's a lot of different kinds of energies out there, and when something rotates, it starts to spin. You have something material, it's spinning, just like our Earth creates a magnetic field. Now, if the materials are in there, something like iron, something conductive, you might say, then the field has a corresponding magnetism or electric field. Now, if something is not composed of something as, say, as much materials, like you have an atom and you have that spinning around, and that's basically light, just kind of like light in a container. I mean, you take a single atom, and a single atom, we know, of hydrogen, there's a tremendous amount of energy because that electron is spinning around incredibly fast around the center. And if you were to stop that thing or split it off, all that energy would have to go somewhere. So there's a powerful force, but it's in a balanced state because, say, a hydrogen atom stays a hydrogen atom. Now, over a long period of time, you get something more complex systems like a galaxy or a solar system. And they're rotating on such in vast, vast scales, and these planets or suns or stars or whatever are circulating around the galaxy in this cosmic dance, like this supreme cosmic lotus, as the Tibetans would say, or the Hindus, in which eventually all the material either gets drawn down into the center through a black hole or the inner attracting force, or blown out. Now, if it's a balanced force, you think about an atom as a balanced force, it's contained, you might say. Now, on a larger scale, you have the galaxy, and there's some energy going in and some going out. There's a centrifugal and a centripetal force. So it gets really complicated when something starts to spin. And light is a wavelength that kind of spins along in this incredible spiral. And so many things in this entire universe, as currents, they spin. That's just the way things work because of the circle, because of the motion, the breathing motion of the universe, whatever you would call it. You have the field spinning. And now, in regard to what could happen when a solar system goes across the ecliptic is what we're getting at. Because if this band is just a supremely fine grade of energy, and probably not just one, there's probably a whole, I mean, I'm speculating here, but the band within this, and we may not even be perceiving it, we may not be conscious of this, because there's something that's super fine. We maybe are looking at infrared or other different frequencies. There might be something like super cool, superconducting light energy that is just stabilized and has been stabilized over the billions and billions of years of this rotation. In fact, now that particular material might even be the substrata from which everything, because it contains this ecliptic in its way, may contain the unseen energy that allows this thing to go on and the other types of materials to come out, you know, because anyway, so there could be an effect on our solar system to magnetize and harmonize our solar system, because if this is a stable energy, unlike, say, you know, a comet or a planet or Nibiru or something like that, but if it's a stable energy, it could do some very unusual things. And of course there would be an electrical correspondence. So it could be very interesting, and I use this term cosmic weightlessness, that perhaps in the big cosmos there are situations that occur rarely where such amount of energy and focused energy is present that the Hindus would call maybe a cosmic initiation takes place. A transfer of energy from the ultimate, which maybe you could call the divine, from the divine source, the most purified source, into another dimension. In other words, we pass through another dimension in a sense. Now, the physical world, it could be very interesting, because let's say, for example, the particular energy doesn't do a lot as much to the physical world. It may do something to the electrical world and the aura of the planet and the energy there, but it may not be, it may do more on, act more on the subtle things. The subtle parts of the plant life, the subtle parts of the animal life, to give us all a bit more consciousness and more enlightenment, and like turning on a big light switch. Now, if it turns on the light switch in our brain, but the physical lights go out for a while, I guess we have to say, well, which would you rather have? Like a lot of some physical darkness or some mental darkness, you know? Now, again, this brings back this big cycle of the cosmic breathing, you might say, that the Hindus try to get into. And you need to talk about from zero to infinite. Zero and infinity in some ways are just like two ends of the same thing, like the snake that eats its tail, because you have nothing, and then you have something that you can't calculate, you can't conceive of, the summation of everything. So ultimately, it's a metaphysical thing that we're trying to comprehend, just like this matter at the galaxy's core. We're trying to comprehend something on a scale that challenges our brain and intellect to really, and our intuition. And I'm going to talk a bit more about this in some next segments, but I'd encourage people to watch a little bit about the sound, the aura videos that I've made, and some others about energy, because there's a lot of material in there. And in future segments, we're going to go again back to some of the numbers and try to figure out where we are in this big cosmic lotus, where we're floating here, where our solar system is, or if we're going to cross into another new field or not. And I think there's some evidence that we are. A Russian scientist recently announced that he believes that we're entering into a major field of energy. He thought it was going to be kind of destructive, but we'll see about that.